Every morning, Park Ranger Alfredo Matavele flies over the Gorongosa National Park in Mozambique. His mission? To monitor its wilderness and the movements of the wildlife. And again this morning, Alfredo marvels at the miracle of Gorongosa. Because this park, one of the richest in southern Africa, where man and nature have now found a balance, very nearly disappeared. It all began in 1960, when the Portuguese, who still ruled the country, created the Gorongosa National Park to protect the wildlife and the beauty of this region in the center of Mozambique. Here, Lake Urema, one of the last in the Great Rift Valley, is surrounded by a vast floodplain. On the horizon is the imposing Mount Gorongosa, which gives its name to the park. This landscape of land and water makes up the central and wild area of the national park. When it was created, the local people settled around it in the buffer zone. River, wetlands, savanna dotted with trees, natural palm groves, fever tree forests. The diversity of landscapes makes it like paradise. Water is the great wealth of this vast territory. It comes from Mount Gorongosa, whose reliefs and moist forests retain the rain from the ocean. It rushes down the steep slopes and swells a multitude of rivers which flow into Lake Urema. Full all year round, people and animals have always gathered around it. During the wet season, the lake overflows. The annual floods deposit seeds, alluvium, and nutrients. Fertile soils, abundant food, water even in the dry season, enables biodiversity to survive all year round. Gorongosa was the richest, most diverse and most prized national park in all of southern Africa, until it descended into hell.
Unfortunately, a civil war started that lasted from 77 to 92, and many people died during that period. And the soldiers, there were thousands of soldiers here of different armies, and they used the wildlife as food. Not only a food, for instance, the ivory of the elephants were used to buy more weapons. It was a tragedy, so 95% of the wildlife of the park was decimated during this civil war period. There were a strange silence in the park. There were bones and skulls everywhere. It looked like the park didn't have too much hope. Fortunately for Mozambique, for Gorongosa, in 2004, Greg Carr, an American philanthropist, visited the park, brought here by President Chissano. Following the lessons of Nelson Mandela, President Chissano agreed that the park could be very important to preserve the peace, to bring people together. And when Greg visited Gorongosa and saw Gorongosa from the air, he decided, this is the place I would like to help. And so he entered in a memorandum of understanding with the government of Mozambique initially, and in 2008 he signed a long-term agreement for 20 years with the objectives to restore the park.
Restoring the park meant bringing back the wildlife, but above all supporting the local war-torn communities. Reconciling humans and nature was the major challenge for the Gorongosa project. Today, 15 years after the agreement was signed in 2008, the rebirth of the park is well underway. A symbol of the return of life, some newborn wild dogs emerge from a den full to bursting. Food is so plentiful again that the females of these carnivores keep on producing abundant litters. This species was wiped out during the war, like the vervet monkeys and baboons, that will now wander the savannah again. But the mothers are on the lookout because the lions are back. The birth of any lion cub indicates the park's good health and is a ray of hope. These predators also had a narrow escape. Killed or injured during the Civil War, only 10 remained when it ended. How did the wildlife, reduced by 95% by 17 years of bloody conflict, manage to rise so fast from its ashes? And how would a park's rebirth serve the development of the neighbouring communities? They had to act fast, starting with protecting the few animals that were still alive. It was a real nature's army that the national park had to create in 2008. More than 300 rangers were recruited from the buffer zone, stripped of everything by the war. Trained, equipped and battle-ready, the rangers are always ready to fight against poaching and protect the park and nearby villages. Their mission is dangerous, the poachers unscrupulous. Their priority is to unearth well-hidden gin traps and snares. To avoid being spotted, the rangers communicate with hand signals. They can be proud. Over the years, thousands of traps have been destroyed and hundreds of poachers arrested. Among the rangers are 12 women, including Romana Santos Andisen.
I like everything here. It's important to stop the poachers, very, very important to stop the poachers. I love the wildlife that we have here in Gorongosa. There were a lot of things that I didn't know, and thanks to this work, I've learned a lot about animals. That's why I'm here, to encourage other women, because they can come here. They can work here too. I'm proud of myself to be here amongst all these men. I feel victorious. I feel like a real woman.
Lying in ambush for days in a row, in forests and savannas, both day and night, the rangers tirelessly patrol the 4,086 square kilometers of the park. Their mission is vital to maintaining balances that are still delicate. Some new guests are being eagerly awaited at Chitengo, the park's headquarters. Four hyenas have arrived from a reserve in southern Mozambique. In addition to curbing poaching, the Gorongosa project has decided to reintroduce some of the species that were once abundant. Starting with wildebeest, buffaloes, a few elephants, 500 animals in all. It's not much compared to the size of the park, but enough to trigger the rebirth of biodiversity. They have to act fast before the sedative wears off. The vets get busy. Blood samples, measurements, and fitting of tracking collars to allow these scientists to follow the two couples in their new environment. The hyenas will spend 5 weeks in a pen before being released into the park. They'll join the wild dogs and leopards, predators recently introduced to limit the rapid multiplication of herbivores. the scientists hope they will adapt and reproduce fast. Another mission for our guardians of nature, saving the African pangolins from extinction. A team of rangers has been totally devoted to them, and they wouldn't trade places for anything. Pangolins are the most poached animal in the world. Restaurants in some countries go crazy for its meat, and Chinese pharmacopoeia for its scales. Almost extinct in Asia, now they come looking for its African cousin. Gorongosa has set up an intelligence service to infiltrate the black market. The little survivors are placed under the protection of the rangers and vets.
Here in Gorongosa we have a rehabilitation center where we receive pangolins coming from illegal traffic. So the pangolins are rescued from illegal traffic, and when they come to the park, we rehabilitate them. We used to take them every day to the field to let them eat, play, and do everything they want, and mostly to be in close contact with the wild.
One of the lionesses targeted by Mercia Angela succumbs to the sedative. They can start fitting a GPS collar. Thanks to this tracking technique, the park scientists can not only follow the introduced species, but also the slightest movement and behavior of the lions. The lions are back, but their population remains fragile. The GPS collars allow them to be located even outside the park and transferred, if necessary, to protect villages. An inventory at the end of the war revealed the sorry state of the park. Only 5% of the large animals had survived, and often in bad shape. To monitor the gradual rise in numbers, Gorongosa has strengthened its scientific team. At its head, Mark Stalmans has implemented aerial wildlife counts every 2 years.
Yalo 2, Buffalo 7.
This year, the results are very encouraging. 964 hippos, when they were previously down to 100. 1,000 elephants today, when there used to be only 250 left. Less than 100 buffaloes in the past, now there are 1,465. And more than 63,000 waterbucks, when the number of these antelopes had been reduced to 100. The rebirth of the park has taken off at an incredible speed. A fierce fight against the poachers and the reintroduction of some extinct species gave it the initial boost. The floodplain is so dynamic and the ecosystem so productive that resilient nature has done the rest. A month after their arrival, the hyenas have reconquered their territory. The water bucks are ever more numerous, as are the yellow-billed storks and the crocodiles. Deserted during the war, the banks of the Musikatsi are alive again with the daily visit of baboons, the shrill flight of the ibises, and the arrival of migratory birds. Usually nocturnal, a civet takes a walk in broad daylight, to the indifference of the impala. In the Weaver Finch village, competition has resumed. The female will choose her partner for his architectural skills. In search of leaves, fruit, and aquatic herbs, elephants tirelessly roam the forests and savannas and take long drinks at the water points. The wildlife has bounced back quickly, but not without consequences for communities in the buffer zone who wish to live here from this fertile land. The massacres of the Gorongosa elephants during the war have remained etched in the elephants' prodigious memory. Worse, they transmit their fear to younger generations. Their behavior and frequent interactions with the villagers are being studied by Mozambican biologist Dominique Gonçalves.
Who's coming? I think they really wanted to go there. They are very intolerant and protective of themselves because of the past, during the Civil War and so on. And these ones we see today, they are mostly the survivors of that time. We suspect that they pass these scars and this trauma also to the young ones, to their generation. I would say even almost 95% of elephants were gone. More than 200,000 people around the park. And when they do eat the crops, it's a big problem, it's a big issue. Imagine, you work your entire season looking for the rain, planting your seeds, and one night a group like that just come and raid everything. So in this case, we have the situations of conflict. Not only that, sometimes people still put their harvest on the top of their hut houses, and an elephant will just come and grab it, destroy the house, so it's damage to property. It's a beautiful word, coexistence, so it's not easy to do.
Elephants like to leave the park and cross the Pungwe River, drawn to the other side by beans, corn, and other delicacies. The park wanted to help villagers find a way to protect themselves. Strange fences have been put up in the path of the mastodons, beehives strung between posts with twine. As soon as an elephant brushes one, the frightened bees attack the intruder, who can't stand the buzzing nor the stings. Hives are given to local people who, trained in beekeeping, look after them. Then the park buys their honey. Beehive fences are one of the flagship activities of the Coexistence program, launched by the Gorongosa project to minimize human-animal conflict. The villagers protect their fields, earn an income, can farm more, and no longer harm the elephants. Another step, thanks to the bees, towards a reconciliation between man and biodiversity. Far north, on the heights of Mount Gorongosa, the rainforest disappears, and with it, water, a source of life for nature and the people down below. To save the water in the park, they had to save the mountain. In 2010, it became part of the protected area. Reforestation is planned with the local people, but how can they be asked to not cut down trees, but plant them instead, when the war deprived them of everything? Pedro Moagura, an agroforestry engineer and now director of the park, had an idea: to plant coffee along with young trees native to the forest.
We are doing coffee production here because we want to make sure that we protect the forest. With the community in this coffee production, we started by having seeds, not only coffee, but also the native species seeds.
Their shade would facilitate the growth of Arabica plants. They'd slow down erosion, retain water, and the inhabitants of the mountain could finally have a decent life. The gamble paid off. After 7 years of effort, devoted care and harvests, Gorongosa coffee, a high-quality product, is sold all over the country and abroad. It provides a living for 860 local farmers.
When this community they sell, all income generated by this coffee, they use according to their family needs. Some they will buy their clothes, they send their children to school. Some even they build very beautiful houses. Park is here just to start the process.
And as they grow, the native trees inspire hope that the rainforest will be reborn. Helping people to heal the wounds inflicted by war was to be the role of the national parks. The president at the time, Joaquim Chissano, was convinced of it. Faithful to its dream of reconciliation, the Gorongosa project decided to support the mobile clinics, a government initiative which lacked the resources to provide care to the most isolated villages, some of which had never seen a doctor. Since 2009, the park has recruited and trained 400 health workers in nearby villages to support these mobile clinics. Since then, they've provided care to more than 100,000 people. Model mothers, whose wisdom is recognized in their villages, have volunteered to reassure young mothers and give simple advice to improve their daily lives.
We guarantee that children will grow up healthy, thanks to the improved porridge we've made, mainly to prevent the death of the little ones.
Health workers explain how to protect against malaria and HIV, distribute basic drugs, vaccinate babies, and monitor their growth.
I'd like you to think of one thing that you would really like to do.
Curbing early marriage and guiding girls towards independence is an unusual initiative for a national park. It's the role of the Girls' Clubs, created in 2009. Girls aged 10 to 16 gather here every day after school.
The girl goes to school, the boy goes to school. The woman goes to work, the man goes to work. That's equality.
A fun break for these youngsters, too often condemned to farm work, housework, and having children too early. Educational support is given with kindness and encouragement. Here they discover that all children have rights, including girls. The right to continue their studies, to have a job, and dare to refuse an early forced marriage. They're also told about the importance of nature. They sing and they play a lot.
Women are also a key part of development, and for the women to make decision on how to keep their land, how to treat the conservation, how to do agriculture, but also make sure that they do it's sustainable, it means that they need to be educated.
Podemos começar a brincar?
If they know how to read, write, study, and they have a profession, but they also participate in the decision making and they understand the importance of keeping the park, of preserving the environment, there's a better chance of us having the park for years and years and years. So Girls Club is a way of preparing these girls. We are preparing the women of the future.
The park's life has returned to normal over the years, over the seasons. In the scorching heat, bushfires break out. Hunger panics the wildebeests. Since September, drought has spread over the park. As the water recedes, it reveals the channels carved by the hippos in the floodplain. Around the last water points, the tension is palpable. Having left their den a few months ago, the wild dogs have grown up. Symbols of rebirth, they're the result of a particularly successful species reintroduction. Reduced to 14 in 2018, today there are more than 170. The young pack responds to a simple call from the adult. Silent, shoulder to shoulder, heads down, the squads form. It's hunting time. The lion cubs, born at the same time as the dogs, have gained in flexibility and strength. But it's still too hot. They'll wait until night to learn to hunt with their mother. The animals have grown, the park has too. The Gorongosa Restoration Project, initially planned to last 20 years, has been extended until 2043. The park's ecosystems, which had lost everything, are an inexhaustible source of knowledge for the scientists of Gorongosa and for Mozambique. One of the least explored regions of Africa in terms of biodiversity.
Because of the war, there was very little activity on the ground. There was a gap of at least 20 to 30 years. There was no research at all. So we've established a framework, an environment that's very welcoming for research. With this diversity of landscapes and this rich biodiversity, Gorongosa National Park is an extremely interesting open-air laboratory with extraordinary possibilities for monitoring and research. We're able to welcome students and researchers, both from Mozambique and elsewhere, who can do various kinds of research in this park.
Entomologists, botanists, primatologists, ornithologists, seasoned researchers or beginners, they all observe, note, collect, and enrich our knowledge of the biodiversity of the park. Francisca Salma is a young Mozambican botanist. She's in charge of the Gorongosa herbarium. This is where she brings the plants she collects in the park. 2,000 are already listed in it. The herbarium is a vital database for documenting plants and through them, studying the evolution of habitats after the war and the effects of climate change. Jacinto Mate arrived as a trainee vet in 2016 to take care of the animals. Today, he's interested in their carcasses. He notes the position of the corpses according to the natural habitats. He observes their dispersion by the various scavengers and their degradation process. Studying the teeth provides information on the animal's diet. Understanding fossilization mechanisms should help paleontologists to interpret the past, here at the end of the Great African Rift, one of the cradles of the human line. Being great cleaners, vultures are very useful in maintaining the health of biodiversity and ecosystems. Rebecca Bishop launches her drone over the canopy to spot vulture nests. Where do they nest? Which trees do they prefer, palms or baobabs? In what environment? Is the nest protected or too accessible to potential predators? Gorongosa is an island of protection for vultures, and good news for the African continent, where the 11 different species are all threatened with extinction.
We try to incorporate Mozambican researchers, but above all, we focus on training. We also try to invite young people from the buffer zone of the park who come here as interns. They become enthusiastic about nature conservation, and that's part of our long-term vision. We have the opportunity to train several new generations of scientists. I think this role is probably one of the most important we can have in a park like Gorongosa, the training of young Mozambicans who become the scientists of the future.
The people living around the park have forged a tangible bond with it. Employed, fed, cared for, trained, they're committed to taking care of it. Destroyed, then restored to life, thanks to the vigilance of the Gorongosa project and to the dynamism of the ecosystems, the animals of the park naturally continue the work begun by humans. But beneath the scorching sun, ensuring the reproduction of the species and participating in the rebirth of wildlife isn't an easy task. Greg Carr, a philanthropist serving a common good, nature, has surrounded himself with a team driven by unwavering motivation. Together, they moved mountains so that a national park became, in barely 15 years, the engine of social and economic development of an entire region. A link between nature and humans, the Park of Reconciliation.
I'm incredibly excited to say that the wildlife is back. We're surrounded once again by elephants and lions and countless tens of thousands, more than 100,000 antelopes. And that's the 200,000 people that live around Gorongosa Park that share one ecosystem. But let's remember that this is a Mozambican project and say, this is your park. These are your animals, these are your trees. And we show that connection between it all. The park is helping you, and when you grow up, you can help the park. You know, we do have climate change. We do have collapsing ecosystems. People say that we're in a mass extinction. Well, then places like Gorongosa can be a fountain from which we can draw the magic of life once again.